Hello and welcome back to my channel Paperbound. My name is Tori and I am so excited you're here. Whether you're returning or it's your first time, I'm glad that you decided to click on this video. As we all know, it is October, which is Halloween time, so I thought that I would do another tag that is related to Halloween. This is the Halloween Creatures book tag, and I found it on someone's blog. I think it was made like a year or two ago, but when I was looking for ideas, I stumbled upon it and I thought, why not? Let's do it. So I will be linking the blog down below. So let's just get started. Which a magical character or book? So this one, I chose this book, From the Dust Returned by Ray Bradbury. This is a collection of short stories that all go together, and the overarching story is there are these creatures, these beings that are all returning to a home. Here is the house. They're all returning to this home. It's kind of like a family reunion, if I remember correctly. So I chose this book because it's creepy, but it's got this magic, and I feel this way about a lot of what Ray Bradbury writes. It has this dark, eerie magic to it. He writes very poetically, I would say very magically, and this is one that when I read this prompt totally came to mind, because it just seems very, very magical in a dark way. Werewolf, a perfect book to read at night. And I chose The Strain by Guillermo del Toro and Chuck Hogan. This is the first book of a trilogy. I have only read this one. I own all three. I've only read the first one and like the first chapter of the second one, and for some reason I didn't continue it. This book is a creepy one, and honestly, if you want to be scared during this time that we're in the world, this might be a good book to check out. It is a vampire book, but it starts with a plane arriving to New York, and it just stops dead on the runway. All of the shades are drawn, it's dark, it's totally dead, there's no connection to their communication or anything, it's just completely dead on the runway. So they call in the people to come check it out, including the local CDC response team to figure out what's going on. So they check it out and they find all of the people just basically dead. And what happened was the plane had brought a contagion to America that basically turns people into vampire type things. It is about the CDC agent and his family and other people that he meets. So I really enjoyed this one. It's perfect to read at night because it is creepy. Frankenstein, a book that truly shocked you. The Bunker Diaries by Kevin Brooks. This is about a boy who finds himself in a bunker mysteriously. He winds up there and there's some other people there. So somebody basically kidnapped these people, put them in this bunker, and is watching them. It shocked me, actually. The ending really shocked me. It didn't end the way I thought it would or the way I had hoped it would. I don't want to give too much away about it because that would ruin the book, but it definitely shocked me in a good way. I really enjoyed it. The Devil, a dark, evil character. The character that I picked is Joe from the Cleaner duology by Paul Cleaver. This is a book about a man who is seemingly slow in the brain. He has I think a janitor job. People, don't think he really is much of anything. And come to find out, he is actually an infamous serial killer in the city that he is in. So I picked that one because when I say dark and evil, usually you think of like the big bads from like fantasies, stories, or whatever, but there's something about a normal human person who can do horrible things without any regret or any care in the world, really, that I think is pretty dark and evil. So that's why I chose him. And if you're into that kind of story about serial killers and stuff, I would recommend totally checking out the series. the Grim Reaper, a character that you think never should have died. I have two answers. I'm obviously not going to tell you who it is because I don't want to spoil anything if you have read them. First one is in The City of Glass by Cassandra Clare. There's a character in here that dies that just should not have died. This is one that is pretty stereotypical, and I'm sure if you've read this book, most people would agree that this character that I'm thinking of just shouldn't have died. So, but this one is an obvious answer, but I had to say it. The next one is a character in this series, and that would be in the Star Wars Legacy of the Force series. There's a character that dies in one of the books in this series that just is heartbreaking. I understand why this person died, and I think it definitely did a lot for the story and stuff, but you know, I'm still bitter about it. Zombie, a book that made you hungry for more, and for that is one that I actually mentioned in 2 videos ago, and that is The Wicker King by Kay Ancrum. This is a book that really made me want more, specifically not just from this author, but more books like this one, more about these characters. I just wanted to see like what happened next and that kind of stuff. So real quick, I mentioned it 2 videos ago, but I'll just say it again. This is a book about 2 friends and their relationship and dependency on each other, and some mental health stuff and some other fantastical things that happen and where that takes their relationship. It's very heavy and really amazing. Gargoyle, a character that you would protect at all costs. And that one is Ben Skywalker, who is in a lot of the Star Wars books. He is Luke's son, and he is, quite frankly, one of my favorite characters in the entire everything of the expanded universe pre-Disney in Star Wars. Vampire, book that sucked the life out of you. So the creator of this had that be a negative thing, like it was just whatever. They used an example of something boring. I'm going to choose a book that I read because it's a classic and I felt like I wanted to and I was curious about it, and it just sucked the life out of me might be a bit dramatic, but it just was not good in my mind. It wasn't, I guess it didn't live up to my expectations, and it wasn't super entertaining, and that is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. It was not quite what I wanted, unfortunately, because I think the concept is really fascinating, and I've seen it obviously redone in multiple different areas and genres, so you know, I hoped for better, and it wasn't there, so I'll say that that sucked the life out of me. Ghost, a book that still haunts you. So the creator of the tag had this as a negative thing, so it haunted you for its badness or whatever. I'm gonna give 2 answers. One is in the negative, and one is it haunts me in the positive, kind of. Like it doesn't haunt me because I didn't like it. So the one that haunts me for in a negative way is not the whole series or even the whole book, it's just the ending, and that would be Afterlife, which is the last book in the Evernight series by Claudia Gray. So this is a series about a girl who goes to a boarding school where her parents are teachers, and then you come to find out that it is a school that is also filled with vampires. So it spirals from there. There's vampire hunters, there's vampires, you find out that there's ghosts and all of that kind of stuff. And it was a really enjoyable series when I read it, like forever ago. I read it in high school. I enjoyed it, except the ending of the last book still haunts me because I'm really disappointed that it ended the way it did. There's a very specific thing that happened that I just think was a cop-out and probably shouldn't have happened, and I know that's negative, very negative, but I just am so disappointed. I understand why it ended the way it did, like I get it, but I don't want to say what it is, but I just wish it would have ended a different way. I think it would have been more interesting if it had ended the other way. That's one that haunts me in the negative. And in the positive, I guess, a book that haunts me just because it haunts me is a book that I recently read, which is The Whisper Man by Alex North. So it involves a an old case and then a copycat basically case of a man who would kidnap young boys and keep them in a room and then eventually end up killing them. And he starts by like whispering outside of their window and stuff, and he finds the lonely boys that no one wants. And and there's like this whole song about like, if you hear the whispers, don't leave your doors unlocked and that kind of stuff, because he'll come and take you. So right up my alley. Totally a book I would love, and I thought it was pretty good. However, since having a child myself, I am extremely sensitive to things for some reason, and it is a book that has certainly creeped me out, and I will still, since reading it, I'm always like, my door has to be locked at all times. As soon as like someone leaves, if it's unlocked, even if it's daytime and I'm home, it needs to be locked. It has haunted me in the sense that it has stuck with me, and honestly kind of still freaks me out a little bit. That is a book that has haunted me for the positive. It's not because the book was bad or whatever. That's not why it haunts me. Demon, a book that really scared you. Okay, this book is a nonfiction book, and it is called Hunt for the Skinwalker. Science Confronts the Unexplained at a Remote Ranch in Utah, and it is by Colm A. Kelleher and George Knapp. Anyway, it is a book about this ranch in Utah where strange things happen. So it's talking about skinwalkers, aliens, that kind of stuff. Exploring all of this strange stuff that has happened to multiple people in this area, on this farm, experts who have gone out to explore it, ufologists who have gone out to check it out, trying to say, is it like government stuff? Is it aliens? Is it supernatural? That kind of thing. So while the book itself was just kind of like whatever, it really did freak me out, because I chose to listen to this for some reason in the dark, in the middle of the night, on the road, driving back to my house from, I think, like Indiana or something. So I was alone in the dark listening to this, and I'll just tell you what, it certainly keeps you awake, because it freaked me out. They're talking about cows being mutilated and these things appearing to people, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm alone in the middle of the night on the road. So that is certainly something that will stick with me as scaring the poop out of me. Skeleton, a character you have a bone to pick with. Honestly, I had a really hard time thinking of this. I know that there are characters that I would love to just like, ugh, because they drive me crazy, but I couldn't think of anyone. And so finally I came up with Beecher White, who is in the Culper Ring trilogy by Brad Meltzer. It is about a man, Beecher White, who works in the National Archives, and he kind of gets roped up in this big conspiracy of secret organizations that are trying to kill presidents, and secret organizations that are controlling presidents, and all of that kind of stuff. So there's like this whole big whirlwind of events through the 3 books. And it is enjoyable. We read it in my book club, and we liked all 3 of the books. However, as they went on, Beecher just continued to make really stupid decisions, and honestly really annoying decisions. By the 3rd book, when it was done, we were all just like, good gracious, Beecher. Mummy, a book you would preserve throughout time. And for that, I am choosing Nod by Adrian Barnes. So this is a science fiction dystopian type book. Everyone suddenly in the world stops sleeping. There are only a few people who are still sleeping, and they all have the same dream. So as we know, we all need sleep to survive. After 6 days of absolute sleep deprivation, psychosis will set in. After 4 weeks, the body will die. In the interim, panic ensues and a bizarre new world arises in which those previously on the fringes of society take the lead. So it's from the perspective of a man who is a writer, and he can sleep and his partner cannot. So he watches her just fall apart, and then watches the whole world kind of fall apart as he is just searching for a way to survive and searching for other people who are not sleeping. So if you can imagine the world being taken over by people who are just sleep deprived, in psychosis, and all of that. It was, honestly, I feel like I need to reread this. It was so phenomenal. This is a book that I will remember forever and will probably always have on the top of my favorites list. And it's a shame because I think soon after this book was published, the author passed away. So I'm sad because, well, that's sad, but I'm also sad because I was really hoping to read more from this author, but unfortunately that is not going to happen. So especially because for that reason, it's certainly one that I would preserve throughout time, and I will on my shelf. A creepy doll, a cover too scary to look at. I'm gonna be really disappointing, and I don't have one. I looked at my books and I tried to think of the books that I've read. I honestly can't think of a book that has a cover that is too terrifying to look at. And last is Monster Mash, which is where I get to tag people. So as always with tags, please consider yourself tagged. And of course, if you do this tag, or you've previously done this tag, or whatever, please link your video or your blog post or your Instagram post, whatever it is, in the comments, because I'd love to check out your social media and your content. Yeah, so thanks for checking out my channel. I hope this was entertaining. I love fall, I love October, I love Halloween, so I am glad that I could find another Halloween prompt to do. So I look forward to seeing you all again very, very soon. Bye.